Hi, I'm Pam, and I'm here to talk about video games. Today I'm talking about the games released in 2024 that I thought were the best. I played 45 new releases, and I was playing them right up until the end of the year, which is why this video is coming out in January. Here's a full list of all the games that I played and considered. Before I get to my top 10, I wanted to do some honorable mentions. 2024 was a fantastic year for Metroidvanias specifically. My top 10 list could have easily been half Metroidvanias, but that would be pretty one note. I did make a full video on all the 2024 Metroidvania releases that I played, which you should check out, but in the meantime, here are 3 honorable mentions. Crypt Custodian by Kyle Thompson has you playing a recently deceased kitty who is tasked with cleaning up the afterlife. This top-down game is completely charming. The map is expansive and fun to explore, the platforming is smooth. There are all kinds of upgrades and abilities, along with challenges that test your combat, platforming skills, and timing. Defeating enemies is satisfying, and boss fights are memorable. I also loved all the characters in the game and actually wanted to read the dialogue, which is a rarity for me in this genre. This is one of the few games I can say I have zero criticisms of. Biogun by Dapper Dog Digital is a run-and-gun where you play a vaccine trying to destroy a virus that is threatening pets everywhere. I love the twin-stick controls in this and how well they work for both platforming and some quite challenging boss fights. The combat is the standout here. There are all kinds of things to collect, side quests to do, and objects to scan. Every conversation is full of amusing dog puns and adorable animations that really drive home the theme. The world is vibrantly colorful and the map is huge. It's very non-linear and filled with challenges that test out your mastery of your many abilities. Mini-Shoot Adventures by Soul Game Studio is a twin-stick shooter that combines an open overworld, interconnected dungeons, and bullet hell boss fights in a delightful mashup of a few genres. You play a little ship out to rescue your friends. This is a game that made me feel constantly rewarded with new discoveries, an upgrade, a new vendor, a breakable dungeon wall, a race. Exploring this very non-linear world was a real delight that felt like it was doing something new and exciting with the genre while also feeling very cozy and familiar. It was hard to put this one down. And now a couple of non-Metroidvania honorable mentions. Vampire Therapist was developed by Little Bat Games. It has you in the role of a vampire that originated in the Wild West, who is now a therapist for other vampires. In this brilliantly voice-acted visual novel, you'll be talking to a range of other vampires who all need your help. You help them recognize their own cognitive distortions, challenge their thought processes, and learn to deal with their immortal lives in a healthier way. I really loved the writing here, and the psychology was solid. Getting to know and help each of these characters was a real treat. Creatures of Ava was developed by Inverge Studios. You play a young explorer who is trying to save the planet Ava and all of its creatures from an infection called the Withering. The game combines different biomes in an open, yet not overwhelmingly large world. You need to find new creatures, photograph them, tame them, and send them up to your ship for protection. I really like how you use the abilities of different creatures in order to further open up the world to you, and this was a world that I loved exploring. The story and writing are also great, and it often made me laugh. And now, on to the top 10. The first entry is a gorgeous platformer about reuniting an orchestra and using music to bring a dead world back to life. Developed by Sunny Peak, in Symphonia you play a violinist. Using your bow, you propel yourself through 4 different worlds based on different instruments, bringing musical machinery back to life. Though the game is completely non-violent, it is not without challenge. This is a precision platformer that will have you jumping, dashing, bouncing, floating, and sliding through its levels. It does not take long for the difficulty to ramp up, and some sections where timing was everything had me stuck for a bit. As you progress, you'll get new abilities and new environmental obstacles will be introduced. This is a shorter game, but there are plenty of optional things to do. You can collect stray musical notes and find secret letters in each level, each requiring more difficult platforming to reach. The music, performed by a full orchestra, is beautiful, and the painterly environments are a great accompaniment. There's even a button dedicated to playing your violin, which is used for certain activations, but I often found myself pushing it just to hear the music. Symphonia is a lovely take on the precision platformer. Number 9 puts you into the shoes of a 12-year-old who is suddenly responsible for the fate of an entire fantasy kingdom. Lil Guardsman was developed by Hilltop Studios. You play Lil, who is wound up working at the city's guard shed, responsible for deciding who gets to enter and who is denied. For each visitor, you have a chance to interrogate them, try out helpful items that can reveal hidden things, or get advice from royal advisors. But you can only do so many of these for each visitor. The choices you make will impact who the kingdom aligns with, who it goes to war with, and the ultimate outcome of that. This is a very charming game, full of zany characters and humorous writing. You'll be meeting and questioning cyclops, witches, elves, and other fantasy creatures. Many are not what they appear, and you need to figure that out if you want to make the right choices. There are even a few musical numbers here, which were some of my favorite parts of the game. Each conversational puzzle you face is a real delight, and Lil will get into some very strange situations that can go in multiple directions depending on your choices. Lil Guardsman does a great job of showing you the consequences of your decisions down the line. The stakes are high, but the mood is light, and this game had me laughing out loud. Number 8 is a grand tactical game that has you building and commanding an army. Unicorn Overlord was developed by Vanillaware and Atlas. It has you playing an exiled prince who is building an army to take back his kingdom. I think this is a game I spent the most time with this year, at around 80 hours. There is just so much to do. Liberate towns from the evil empire, find new allies and convince them to join you, find supplies and fortifications, equip your allies, and build relationships between them. This is very much a management style game. Many of the tactical decisions are made outside combat. You need to build units that work well together, taking advantage of class synergies. You need to have your fighters well equipped and determine the priority for each of their abilities and what will trigger them. During a battle, you're commanding where the units go, sending them into fights or to take over enemy strongholds. The actual combat plays itself out based on the priorities you've set up, and is fun to watch with great animations and voice acting. If you're a person who likes ticking things off to-do lists, this game is very satisfying. So many towns to recapture, allies to gain, bonds to forge. Unicorn Overlord is a game that made me want to see everything it offered. The next game puts you in a dense, mysterious labyrinth and lets you figure things out for yourself. Animal Well was developed by Billy Basso. This is a novel take on the Metroidvania, encouraging you to explore, observe your surroundings, and think outside the box to solve its many puzzles. The abilities you gain as you progress are truly creative, all based around children's toys. You'll be finding bubble wands, frisbees, firecrackers, and you'll have to figure out for yourself how each can be used. Most have multiple uses, and discovering a new one always made me feel very clever. This game gave me so many aha moments. I love Animal Well's pixel art and pastel color palette. The sights you'll see and the music you hear give it a haunting and otherworldly feel. I really did feel like an explorer, finding new areas, new creatures, new ways to interact with the environment. Lighting candles which ensured safety and slowly filling out the map felt great. The mysteries of Animal Well go further than I did, with more layers to reveal after rolling credits. I was happy for the time I spent with it, as it really felt like it was doing something new. Number 6 is a new entry in a favorite series of mine, and though it takes a bit of a different approach and may be lighter in tone than some expected, I still enjoyed almost every minute of it. Dragon Age: The Veilguard was developed by BioWare. In a follow-up to the end of Inquisition's storyline, you play a new character, Rook. It starts with trying to stop Solas's plan to tear down the Veil, and progresses to facing off against even more nefarious elven gods. This is definitely the most beautiful game in the series, and it also focuses the most on what I care about most in these games, the characters. Veilguard is the Mass Effect 2 of the Dragon Age series. I got that vibe a few hours in, and every turn reinforced that. This is a game about building a party of companions to go into battle with you. Each one of them has their own things going on that need to be resolved. I really loved most of the characters and enjoyed that each one made their own space in your stronghold and formed relationships with the other members of the team. It wasn't all about the protagonist. Veilguard also gives us a ton of interesting lore and story about the Wardens, something I've been itching for more of since Origins. There are also, finally, lots of dragons in this Dragon Age. The final mission in particular is spectacular, and a great conclusion both on a story level and for each individual character. Usually, a video game that simulates doing a job is not one that I'd be interested in, but number 5 kept me on the line with its oddness. Home Safety Hotline was developed by Night Signal Entertainment. You play a phone operator, taking calls from people who have things in their homes that are going bump in the night. Right from the start, things are a little strange. You'll find some odd messages on your very 90s computer, and the stakes for correctly identifying pests seem very high. Each day you'll take phone calls with callers explaining what they're experiencing in their homes. You reference your catalog of household pests and hazards to deduce the issue they're likely having and let them know how to deal with it. It starts with fairly normal things: termites, mice, mold. But as you progress, you open new entries and the calls get weirder. You'll be diagnosing memory wisps, mirror nymphs, all types of hobs, and bed teeth? The descriptions and photos of these creatures get real creepy, and the panic in the voices you hear on the phone escalates. Especially if you get something wrong and give bad advice. Home Safety Hotline is delightfully atmospheric, and the folklore monsters and pressure of correctly identifying them keeps things consistently eerie. The next game does a great job of making me feel like I'm right inside one of my favorite movie trilogies. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle was developed by Machine Games. You take on the role of Indy as he globetrots, finds stunning artifacts, solves ancient puzzles, and punches a whole lot of Nazis. I had high hopes for this game because of how much I love Wolfenstein: The New Order, and it did not disappoint. The game got off on the right foot by recreating the first scene from Raiders, and it just got better from there. It was great to wander through vast locales, taking in the sights. The tombs and ruins were my favorite parts, full of clever puzzles which rewarded you for paying attention, mixed in with some fun platforming and escape sections. Though the stealth was a little half-baked, I still really enjoyed sneaking up on a Nazi and hitting them with a hammer. Once you get to a set-piece location, the game just shone. There was the joy of discovery, of lighting up a dark cavern for the first time, the satisfaction of solving puzzles, and the thrill of new dangers around every corner. The script, tone, and performances in The Great Circle are all perfect. All of Indy's quips feel like they came right out of one of the movies, and Gina is a great sidekick and foil. Machine Games did an impeccable job at making me feel like I was Indiana Jones. Number 3 is a perfect combination of tactics, puzzle solving, and a heavy dose of humor. Tactical Breach Wizards was developed by Suspicious Developments. You command a group of wizards as they fight battles with police, private military, and religious dictatorships in order to try to stop a war. In this story-driven campaign, every battle is a puzzle. Enemy behavior is known, so each turn you need to find the best way to hurt them, or knock them out windows, and avoid them hurting you. There are multiple solutions, and you can experiment, seeing how various character abilities work together, and rewind time to try again before committing to the turn. The missions start off simple. They may end in a single turn, but soon become more complex with more characters, more abilities, and more objectives. There are also bonus objectives to really test your mastery of the skills, which will give your wizards confidence when accomplished. Each wizard has their own special set of powers, and they're all very clever and fun to use. One of my favorites is opening portals to another dimension to push enemies through. You also level up and enhance these abilities as you go. The writing brings the game to the next level. I love the lore here, learning about what each wizard can do and how they first realized their powers. It's so creative and hilarious, and it makes sense as a magic system. The characters are a bunch of lovable idiots who grow closer over the course of the game. So many of their conversations had me laughing out loud or turning around to read them out to my partner. Tactical Breach Wizards hit right on every level and was an absolute blast to play. My pick for number 2 is packed to the brim with brain-teasing riddles. Lorelei and the Laser Eyes is developed by Simogo. You play a woman who has received an invitation to visit an old hotel. Who has invited her? Why is she there? Those are only the beginning of the mysteries you'll be presented with. Lorelei is a game for puzzle lovers. You'll get free reign of a Baroque old mansion full of locked doors, important information, and secrets. And puzzles at every turn. Logic puzzles, math puzzles, spatial puzzles, your attention and your memory will be tested. Though you can always access any note or piece of information you've come across, you'll also want a notebook beside you while you play this game. This was one of the best gaming experiences I had this year. Sitting beside my partner, exploring this winding locale, trading off on manning the controller and the notebook, figuring out puzzles together, having those aha moments when we recognized how a new piece of information could be used. We first started playing after dinner, then all of a sudden it was 1 a.m. Lorelei manages to hit the spot not just for its numerous puzzles, which are so satisfying to solve, but also for exploration. The manor is vast, and sometimes solving one puzzle could open up a whole new area to be discovered. One puzzle solution could lead to another. Finding a key could unveil a new set of mysteries. If one puzzle had us stumped, there were always more to try instead. All the while, the atmosphere is captivating. Everything is black and white except for pops of magenta. Characters speak in enigmatic ways. The house is eerie and makes you feel like there's danger lurking everywhere, even though you're usually quite safe. My time with Lorelei was completely engrossing. And finally, my game of the year is one that I've talked about a lot, so it's probably not a surprise. It came out and instantly joined my list of favorite games in one of my favorite genres. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown was developed by Ubisoft Montpellier. You play Sargon, one of the immortals of Persia. The prince has been kidnapped, and it's up to you to find him. Also, to figure out what has been corrupting the kingdom and causing time to behave oddly. This is my game of the year because everything about it just feels so good. So smooth, so satisfying. Sargon is quick and agile. He flows around the map like water. Whether he's air dashing through rows of spikes, wall jumping and shooting at targets midair, or dancing around enemies and slashing at them with his twin swords. This is also one of the only games that's made me enjoy parrying, both due to its tactile feel and the awesome animations and counterattacks I'm rewarded with for pulling one off. The Lost Crown has one of the most creative, gratifying, and thematically appropriate set of abilities to unlock. One early ability allows you to freeze a copy of yourself at a moment in time, then teleport back to it. This can be used in a multitude of ways, avoiding enemy attacks, moving around the screen quicker, solving seemingly impossible platforming segments, and time challenges. The more abilities you get, the more creative you can be. The game's map is huge. It's 13 biomes, vast and varied, full of shortcuts and rewards. I loved that when looking at the map, I was frequently not sure what new ability would get me through a roadblock. I was often delighted by the answer. And I love the fact that I could take a screenshot and pin it to the map when I wanted to remember something, a feature most future Metroidvanias should steal. The game is challenging, but not punishing. You lose almost nothing when you die, just return to the last checkpoint. This makes exploring in multiple directions so much more encouraging. And if you die on a boss, you have the option to just try again immediately. There's also a fulsome set of difficulty and accessibility options so you can make sure the game is giving you the experience you want. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown learns from all the great Metroidvanias that came before it and gives an amazingly smooth, rewarding, and most of all fun experience. So those are my top games from 2024. While the previous year was great for horror, this past year was amazing for puzzles and platforming. I hope you liked the video and found a game or two that you want to try out for yourself. Leave me a comment and let me know what your favorite games from 2024 were and what you're looking forward to playing this year. If you want to see more, check out my best of list from last year or another of my videos. I have a Patreon if you want to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.